Hey, my name is Ryan with Oak Harbor Web Designs, and today we're just going to build a website. This is one that I designed for my painting client over in Ohio. He wanted something a little higher end and unique, so that's what we went with. This is a more modern design, definitely for a painter. So this is what we're going to be doing today, and we're just going to be doing it in plain old HTML and CSS. Nothing crazy, no frameworks, no React. We're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. So this is what we got to work with, and I'm going to show everybody my process. And I know this is not going to be an easy one to do, even for me, just to get these to scale properly and be responsive. This will be an interesting challenge, especially this, keeping this here. Whenever you have elements that are on the edges that need to grow with the screen, you're going to run into some issues. Making them responsive 100%, because when they get way too big, when the screen is huge, this will be little teeny tiny and this will be gigantic. So it's about finding a happy balance. So let's go into the code and let's get this started. So I don't like to start from complete scratch. What I like to do is start with my little template. So this is my base template that I built myself, and I just copy and paste it every time. So this is basically what it looks like. Here's the footer. I put whatever I want in there. You have your basic call to actions, your H1, H2. You got dark mode, and then we have a responsive navigation. There we go. That looks a little better. So we already have these built in that little template that I have, and I'll have a link at the bottom of this video with a link to download my template so that you can get started just like I do. This saves me so much time. Why rebuild the wheel? It's already been done. It's a responsive navigation. All we got to do is tweak it with CSS, and we can make a ton of things out of just one little nav bar. So this is what I like to start with. So we're going to go from desktop to mobile. So we only have a desktop version, and sometimes that's all you're going to get. So let me see here. We're going to go, this is our landing. So I'm going to take this. Let's see, this is going to be, let's say services. And this is just how I like to organize my HTML. I like to have these little sections here because when you go into the console, it breaks everything up by these little comments. So it makes things easier to find, especially when you're looking at HTML and you got a whole bunch of stuff. Just having these little breaks makes it a lot cleaner. So it looks like we got our services, and then we'll do our sections. Every section of the website. So imagine this right here. This is a section. You know, it's self-contained information. So we're going to put that in its own section tag with an ID. Let's just say services. Oh, actually, let's copy and paste this. So this one, this will be its own section again. So we're going to do a different group. We're going to call this, let's say painting. Because he wants to have this section to be dedicated to let us complete your home painting project. So we're going to have this as painting, make this as painting. Our next one is going to be this section. So this is what I do. All my websites, I go by and I just create all the different sections that I need. So this one's going to be experience. Alright, then this one's going to be the same as this guy, so we're going to do the construction. There we go. But, so we have two identical sections. Why repeat the code? So what I want to do, instead of, they have their own unique IDs so that we can, flip their arrangements around. and target them specifically, but we should also add a class so that we can just write the code once right here for how all of this should look. And then we target the ID construction to target these left and right sections and flip them and add the different border radiuses. So what I want to do up here for painting, I'm going to give it a class. Let's just say split. Right, copy and paste that over here. Because why repeat that code if it's already up here? Let's just put it down here. Then the next section, let's copy this one. Let's see. So it's just going to be this right here plus this little image in the background. It's a watermark. Let's call this process. Okay, and then obviously we got portfolio. And then we got our testimonial section. Let's just say reviews. I don't like spelling out testimonials. That's just a lot of extra words to say the same thing. Or letters. Let's see, reviews. And then we got our footer. That's already there. So that's the basic setup. I like to do that before I start every project. Just for setup here, I mean, obviously your body, your navigation is in the header, and your actual navigation is contained in this nav tag. That helps screen readers understand what is the navigation. And then, you know, I got my extra mobile stuff up here with my dark mode button on top. And then when you start any project, everything is going to be in this main tag, all of it. It's going to be right here. So it goes main and then footer. We don't use divs for everything. We got to use semantic HTML, and that's what these sections are for. These sections basically tell Google and screen readers that anything in this section right here is related, and they have to do with the same content. So this helps Google understand not just what the content is, but what it means in relation to the content around it. So it helps search engine rankings and picking up keywords and just understanding what your content is. And we break it up in these nice, neat little sections so that Google's little spiders know exactly where they are and what to find. So, and this just makes it a much cleaner code, by the way, as well. So I got this little script down here. I found this online. Basically, if you're using Internet Explorer, it just gives you a little pop-up that says, yeah, this browser's terrible. Get out of here. Go do something else. Get anything else. Chrome, Firefox. Thank you, because we're not coding for Internet Explorer. It's out the door. So this is the basic setup. This is how I start every project I do. So now we got to look at the landing section here. So we don't have an H2. Looks like it's just going to be an H1. Let's see. Let's just copy this. I put it right here. So I'm trying to think how I want to do this for mobile, because you got this little circle here. So I'm wondering if that would be too much, because we would really just have just a little sliver over here, because we can't shrink this down too much. So I'm wondering, these are the kind of problems you run into. How do you transform a desktop version into a mobile? So I think what I want to do, I will try and do this and see what it looks like on mobile. So we're going to save that for after we get the rest of our markup. I like to plan things out. I'm looking at this and I'm wondering how I'm going to do it. So let's just get our HTML started. So what I like to do is I look at which can be a block level element and which cannot be. And block level meaning it's on its own line, nothing else is next to it. So obviously we got this little group here together. So I'm trying to use as few divs as possible, and I think we can do that here. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Oop, not there. let's zoom in here and see what we got to work with here. So we got our services. So I'm going to make this, every section has their own. I like to start with an H2. So we're going to have house painting contractors in Middleton. That goes there. So we got this little guy on top. I like to add that as like a little span. And I think we use that in other places too. So let's just call this yellow span, because I think we're going to have, this is kind of like a repeating style that we have. Like we have it down here as well. So let's see, do we have it over here too? Yeah, we got it over there. It's just these are centered. So let's give these classes so that we can target them. Since the style is shared throughout the site, let's give them all their unique classes so that we can style them once and not have to do it again. So H2, let's just call this main H2. Nice and easy. And then we got our P tag. Okay, come back here. Let's see, let's just copy and paste this stuff. So I'm doing it this way. Like sometimes you can, people would like to add a container around this so that they can center it, do whatever they need to do. They're just used to using containers. But what I like to do is use as few containers as possible and only use them if I need to have like a section like this where I have all 4 of these guys here. If I need them to be aligned or try to arrange them within a group, then yeah, I have to group them together in a container. But these guys are open. They're all block level elements, so I can just set down this display block and margin auto, and they're centered. No container, so we save a div there. However, on here, we're going to have to make a container for these cards. So let's start with these. We're just going to do a regular container. And let's see, we're going to do a card. And how do we want to do this? So we have an image on top. We have this little guy in the middle and this content. So how do I want to structure this? We could have this as a pseudo element, or we can have it as a regular element. I think I just want it to have, I think it'd be easier if I just set it as a div and add it as a background. Because with these, you don't want to add the exact image dimensions, because if you ever have to change these in the future, you're going to have to edit the image to be these exact dimensions, and that just adds more work for yourself. So in this card, I'm going to have a div with the class image, and I think that's all we need for that. And then since this image, it really is just decorative, it has nothing to do with the information. It doesn't add any extra context. So we add an aria attribute, aria hidden equals true. And this is an aria attribute. You can find these, you can Google aria online, or aria attributes, and you can learn all about the different things you can use for aria to talk with and work with screen readers and help explain what your markup is to a screen reader. So this aria hidden is it hidden from the screen reader? True means it is. So the screen reader will just completely skip this section. And if there's anything inside of this div, it will also skip it. So there's nothing important here for accessibility. We want to hide it because it adds no value. So we're just going to skip that. And then we got our image here. So this looks like, we got an image. We're having, these are going to be SVGs, obviously. And then we're going to have a circle. So, I mean, you can have the SVG inline as its code, but that gets really messy. I just like to load them in as images just to make it really easy. So we're going to, because you can't add pseudo elements to images. So I can't add a before to create this circle around it. So I have to, if I want to make this as an element, as an image element, I gotta create a div or a span. Let's go with a span, and then put our image in here. And again, this is going to be aria hidden, and that's going to be true because again, it is just decorative. We don't need it. And then we're going to go, let's see, images. So what is that? Paint. And it's a paint roller. Yeah, paint roller SVG. Let's just put that. And then underneath here, we're going to have our content. So inside, while these are going to be next to each other, so they're not going to be block level elements. Inside of here, however, we do have block level elements. So we don't need anything next to them to the left and right, and we can just add some padding to them. So no container for these. So we're just going to add them as is. So we have an H2 up here. So the proper hierarchy for heading would be H2, then H3. So we're going to go H3 in here. We got interior painting. And then we just got our lorem ipsum. I like to do my p tags like this. It's just easier to read for me. It's just a preference. You don't have to do it that way. So let's copy. So like if you did it like this, that's how it looks like this. But I don't know. I don't like to look at it that way. That's just me. So I like to do these. And then that is it for that card. So what we do is we just take this and copy and paste them 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. So interior. I'll just worry about all that later. We're here to make a website, not write copy. So to continue, I'm just going to leave that image for all 4 of them. Save some time here. Now we got this this button again. This is looks like a block level element. There's nothing to the right or left of it. So I think we can actually have this button outside of this container. So this will be its own little section right here. And then outside of it, we're going to make that little link. Our services. So that's how I would do that section. And this, I think this is as few divs as possible. So when we get to the CSS, you'll see how everything kind of plays with each other. And let's see, we'll do the link later. So now we're on to experience. This little section, this problem child that I know is going to cause me some issues today. So we have this content on the left, so this will obviously go first. So I think what I want to have is I need 2 separate divs within this section for the different sides, 1 left and 1 right. So, and I got to think about when I want this page to grow bigger, is this going to stay to the left side, or is it going to kind of stay into the center and then have more white space going out? Because you see this like internal kind of container that I have going here. These are the edges of the website. This is the border. Do I want it to stay in this border, or do I want it to leave? You want it to stay, because visually, if you have this kind of breaking that, and this section is like way out here while this one stays nice and close, it just looks bad. So we want to keep this here, to keep this content where it's at, however big its container gets. So what I want to do, so let's start with our left and right. So basically what I want to do is, let me get this notepad out here. I want to show you what I'm talking about. So yes, it is. It is the beloved Microsoft Paint. So right here, I just want to show you guys what I'm looking at here. So we have this section, right? So with No container. We have a left section and we have a right section. Now inside this section, we want to have the content stay within a container. So do we add a container to this? But if we do, then this will also be held within that container. So we want it to be on the edge, right? But I'm wondering if when we get to a big screen, if I'm actually thinking about, screw this design that I did. Once it gets too big, I think we will just keep, make it stop growing and have it as like a little standalone rectangle. I think that'll make things a lot easier. So maybe I do have a container. But yeah, these are the problems you run into when you're building a site. This is the first time I've sat down to really plan this site, so you're kind of watching my my planning. So how do I want to do this? So I don't want to have a container around it. So I think what I'm going to do is I will have these two sections. They will be with 50%, so they will actually take up the entirety, right? So I'll have these two sections, and then inside this left section, this is where I'm gonna have a container around my content, so that I can position this container inside of this one. So however big this one gets, if it goes, if it goes all the way out here, how do we keep our content fixed? And that's what I'm doing here by creating a container within a container, another div. We're going another level deep, but that's how I want to keep the content from moving. So I'm going to put the content as an own container, and I am going to position it display block margin left auto, so it pushes automatically against the left, and give it a margin right of, 50 or 100 pixels, so that it's always 50 to 100 pixels away from the right of its container, and it will always stay there. And there's a couple different ways to do that. I'm going to test that out, and I'm going to see how that looks. So now I just got to structure that. So in here, this is the left, so this will be 50%, right? So it's going to grow as big as the screen makes it. So inside here, we're going to put our content container. And then we got our H2s over here. Let's copy and paste these so I don't have to redo everything. So these are the same H2 and span that's up here, except it says this. Boom. And copy the text. And it looks like we got I think we got a list here. So what I want to do, we got some custom bullet points, it looks like. So you can do this a number of ways. We can just do, I think I'll just do regular, I might just do a regular div and have just an H2 or an H3 and a P. You can also do an unordered list and have the LI have an H3 and a P, and then get rid of the the bullet style, the list style, and then add your own pseudo element with this as a background that's attached to this H3. I think what makes it as few markup as possible. I think an unordered list will be better. So let's do a UL. So we got our LI, our first LI. I like to put my heading, so interior painting, and then we're going to put our P. I want to copy and paste this so that it formats correctly when I make it, and then we're just going to copy and paste this 3 times. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I want to add these as pseudo elements, and I'm just going to add padding to the left to create this space. I'm going to add this as a pseudo element attached to this H3, so that it's, you know, wherever this H3 goes, this thing goes. That's how I like to do things. Plus, the pseudo elements, it's an image. It should be hidden from the screen readers, and it takes away markup from here. Instead of having to make an image in here, we have to make another image tag. Then we have to give it already a hidden true. We have to style it and position it. And if we want it to look like this, then we might have to make it float left and give it a margin bottom, or put this in a container so that these two can be flexboxed next to each other, but that's just too much hassle. So we're going to add these as pseudo elements. I freaking love pseudo elements. I use them all day. And we have another button down here. Again, looks like it is its own little separate thing inside this container. So outside the unordered list, we're going to have our button, more info. And I guess I should, let's see, I think it's button solid. I should just add this class. So I want to target all the buttons. I should have done this earlier, but hey, I'm winging it today. Button solid, button solid. Yeah, button solid. That's the class I have for my buttons. Okay, so that we can target these buttons. They all look the same, do the same thing. Nice and easy. So that's the left section. Now let's do the right. This will be fun. A couple of ways you want to do it. You can either do, you know, inline blocks and place them all individually. You can do flexbox, or you can do grid. I think I want to do grid. I'm not too familiar with grid, so I'll probably have to brush up on it a little bit. But I think if I set up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I set up a grid that's 6 rows tall, and let's start from here. 1, 2 is in the center. 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 columns wide and 6 columns down. Because then what I'm going to want to do is I'll have this go. I'll have this span 4 rows. This will span 4 rows, and then this will span 2 rows, and this will span 2 rows. So I think that's how I want to plan that out. So let's get our groups here, and just a heads up, I like to add, so if we're doing images like this, again, because these images can change, I like to add them as background images so that I can literally just go into the CSS, change the image, and it changes it automatically. So we're just going to have some divs in here. So this is right. So it's going to contain all of it. So yeah, we don't need any other containers. We're just going to do, I'm just going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do 1. Copy and paste, 2, 3, 4. So inside this one, I want to have free estimates. That's, let's see, what do we have in this section? We have an H2, an H3. This doesn't seem like it'd be it's not a heading, so this would be a span. We don't want it to make a P tag because it's not a paragraph. This is a paragraph. That's a paragraph. This is not exactly a heading. So this is just, you know, an extra blurt of information. So to be semantically correct, I mean, I could be wrong. Feel free to disagree, but I would make this as a span. And let's see. I like to give all my spans classes. So let's make this the estimate span. And inside of here, I want to have this specifically on 2 lines, and I want to break it no matter what size or how big it is. Because if this gets bigger, you know, this can go to 1 line. I don't want that. Or we can add a break in between. But the easiest way for me, because we also want to target this and make this capitalized while this is regular, we're going to add another span, and we're going to do free. And then estimates. So I don't want to do it here. I don't want to make it capitalized here. I would rather capitalize it in CSS so that if I do ever want to change it, I just do it in the CSS. I don't have to do anything to the HTML. So any text editing, anything that changes the text or the markup, let's just keep that in the CSS. We don't need to do that here. So free estimates. So this, a span within a span. So I'll set this span to display block, and inside here I'll set this span to display block. Let's see, I'm not going to label this span because I'm just going to do estimates span display block, and that'll put them on two separate lines. Text align center in the middle, boom, there that is. And the rest of these are just going to be boxes. So I want to have one class to target them all at once. I'll just add them all to the grid class so that if I want to target all 4 of these at once, I just use the grid class. So I think that's how I'm going to set that up. And we'll see if it works. That'll be a fun one to try grid. I don't use it too often, so it'll be a challenge. Well, I'm going to try and speed that one up. Maybe I have to go read some stuff before I do that. But so this section is going to be our, let's see, experience. Let's see, painting. Yep, I did it. Let's see. I started too soon, so we're just going to take this. Copy this. This is going to be services now. Or hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. So I gotta get rid of this. Boop. Painting. Sorry about this. This is gonna happen in your day too. I'm not infallible. We all are. So sometimes we all get ahead of ourselves, and that's okay. So let's see, we get our painting, and then we gotta put our class split. Then we got our services. Yes, got that. Got our painting. We got our left, and we got our right. There we go. Okay, so now I just got to redo experience. Experience. Yeah, get rid of that. All right, so now that I cleaned up my screw up there, let's go down to here. So we got, again, it looks like this is broken down the same way as this is broken down. We have block level elements with a group that needs to be its own container with another block level element. So we're just going to go with our tried and true H2 and span. Copy these guys so we don't have to do them again. And then we got our content. This is why we add IDs to all of our sections, because we have a content up there as well, but everything is going to be associated with this ID. So it'll be experience content instead of, let's see, we're going to go up here. Where is it at? I know I had it somewhere. Oh, that's right. I think I did it right there. There it is. Instead of painting content. So that's what we're going to have there. Inside of it, we're going to have cards. These are basically cards without the box around them. So we're just going to do another card. we don't have to use card. I'll just use the item because it doesn't look like a card, so I'm just gonna do item. That's just how I feel. Let's see, looking back, I want to look up here. So in these right here, I'm just thinking, aria hidden, true. Why? Because they add no intrinsic value. They don't really add any extra content. So these pictures we want to hide. We're not using those. Let's see. Oh, and then we got this guy. So this is a. I forgot this. This is a watermark. This is absolutely positioned underneath everything. So you could put it wherever you want. You could put it in this section, or we can put it in this section. I think I'm going to put it in this section. So in the painting section of everything else, we're just going to put an image, and let's give it a name. Watermark, and then aria hidden, true. Okay. So then we're going to do, let's see, images. What is that? Images, Turner Painting, logo. There we go. Logo. So we don't need to put it there exactly because, the screen reader is not going to pick it up. So yeah, this image, I'm just going to absolutely position it underneath everything. Again, sorry I forgot about that. That's just programming. So you're going to miss it. I'm not going to be this perfect, get it all done in one shot genius over here. I didn't go over this before, so I'm just going in it fresh right now, and I'm actually working. This is actually a real client. This is a real website for a real client. So this is actually just me working, and I'm just sharing my process with everyone. So maybe it's messy, maybe it's a little bit everywhere, but that's kind of everyone else's day. So let's see. So our item. We got our image, number, and let's see, I guess description. So we're going to do an image tag. And I'll add the sources for these later off screen so that I'm not wasting your time with it. And then here we have another span. Let's give it a class of number. So this one is 5 out of 5. And then we got another span, class equals rating. No, let's just do text. Yeah, I want it to apply to everybody. So again, another graphic. Aria, hidden, true. This is going to be a pattern that you're going to start seeing everywhere. This is just an icon. And icons, they just add things visually. They don't add things contextually. So we hide them. Again, we don't need it. So let's see. Let's do rating. Now we just got 4 items. Let's copy and paste these suckers. Okay, so we got that. That's going to be 10. Employees. That's thousands. Jobs completed. And then this one's going to be 100% satisfaction. That's right. Nobody leaves Turner Painting unhappy. So now that we got that section, let me see what I want to do. Because I'm thinking about how do we do this little curve. One idea is to have a box. We can have a box, and then we give it a border radius of I guess a border, however tall we want this, because we don't want this to be a pill size either. So we want this to stay corners. So border. Let's see, we're gonna do this border right. We're going to do a border up here that's half of the height and a border here that's half of the height. So we could do that and make it width of 80% and see how that goes. But So I want these guys, you see this section? I want this section to always be centered. So when the screen gets bigger, I don't want this to move with a pill. So I don't want it to be a width of 80% because that means it's going to be shifted over. It's not going to exactly be where I want it to be. Or we can create, we can make a clip path circle. So I'm just planning this out right now. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try this out. I will add, I think I'll add the background as a before element that has the background of the kitchen and an after element that has the overlay. And they will, let's see, maybe not. I think I want my, or do I want to make it, do I want to make a separate container that just makes this pill? See, this is what I do to myself when I make something fancy. I gotta spend a little extra time thinking about how I want it done, because it's really important to structure your HTML thinking about mobile first and transitioning to desktop and making sure you have everything kind of very strategically positioned so it makes your life as easy as possible. So I don't want to just throw that out there willy-nilly and trying to plan something now and then go back later and then I have to spend another 30 minutes trying to figure out what I can do better. So I think I'm just going to add it as its own div. I'm just going to, that seems like the fastest and easiest solution. So I'm just going to call it a div pill. We're going to give it aria hidden true because it does not matter what it does. So I think I'm going to have it absolutely positioned. So if this is the section for the experience, I think I'll have this pill box with this background, be height 100% with 80% or 85, and then a left attribute of 0. So it'll always be stated. It'll always stay to the left, and it'll always be 80% of the screen width. Maybe I could do view width, so an 80 VW, 80% of the view width, the actual screen. I'll try that. Maybe it'll be more accurate. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think that might be the easiest, hassle-free way to do it. Is just freaking add a div. It's not that costly to add that. It's hidden. It adds. That doesn't add anything too bad. So yeah, I think that's going to be easier. So now that we got that done, so we got this guy. So what we're going to do, this is our painting section. So let's just copy this section. And put it in here. So I think what we want to do, oops. There we go. And construction. Can't have two IDs. So what I want to do is left and right. So instead of being in their respective positions, I am going to reverse them. Now this is going to look really weird, having right on top and left on the bottom, but that's how I want it to. That's how I want it to play out in the let's see, mobile. I mean, we could just do flexbox and flip the order, but I mean the order is already. If I do it like this, it's already flipped, and it's less CSS I have to write, but yeah, I guess we could just do that. Let's use Flexbox to its fullest capability. Let's just have these guys, let's change their order. So this is a flex container, and each child in a flex, so if this construction is display flex, This will be position absolute, so it's basically disappeared. It's gone. The DOM won't even think about it. Actually, we don't even need that, so that's gone. But so this is a child and this is a child. So if I do order 2 on this and order 1, it will be in the 1 spot and the left will be in the 2 spot. So I think that's how we best handle that. Now that that's done, let's go on to the process. Again, we have another watermark here, but we have this section again. So let's just go up to the home page landing right here. That's basically this all over again. Why redo it? So we're gonna go down here. Again, it is all block level, so we don't need a container. All right, that's less divs that we need. So we got this guy though. Let's pick up the watermark from up here. So I'm just going to put it right here. And I'm going to give it watermark 2. So I want it to be its own size. It's going to be a different size than this, or maybe I make it the same size. I don't know. But I don't want it to have the same properties as watermark 2 and then have to go in and override them to change the position over here. So I think it's just easier to give its own and add the same opacity and position absolute. I think that would just be easier. And then, so we got these guys. They're positioned, so they're technically block level elements, but they are positioned off-centered. So what we can do to prevent, instead of having to use a container, you see this container, instead of having to have them nudge up against a container, what we could do is set these all to display block, margin auto, have them centered, and then on the containers, use the transform property to transform it to negative 100 pixels to the left, offset it. We could do that, or because I don't want that. I don't know if that. When you use transform properties, especially on text, it can blur the text, but I'm not sure if that is true if you transform the container. So I think I'll try it that way first, just because it's less divs. And it might actually be cleaner and easier. We'll see what the end result looks like, if it's something that we can accept, if it's passable, or if the text blurs or not. So this will actually be an interesting setup. We're going to use pseudo elements for a lot of this, and I'm going to show you how I like to do it. So right away, we're going to have display block, margin auto, so they're all going to be on top of each other. So let's do dot card. There you go. I'm using that, by the way, I'm using the Emmet plugin, so I can do that. I can just hit the dot or a hashtag, and you can get your ID or your class just like that. Highly recommend it. The Emmet Elm, I think it's Elm Edit plugin. Where's that at? Yeah, Elm Edit, Elm Emmet. There it is. And then you got your other ones. The prettier you got to have. I love colonize. You just hit Control and Enter, and it adds a semicolon, it skips a semicolon and jumps to the next line. Colorize, so that I can see which brackets contain which CSS, when they're nested. So yeah, those are just my extensions, but let's get out of there. So card, inside the card, we're gonna have an H3 and a paragraph. So H3, schedule and estimate. And then our P is going to be this generic lorem ipsum until I add some actual text to it. So we can add these numbers a number of ways. We can add it as its own element, like its own div or span inside of the card, and absolutely position it to the top left. Or we can use a pseudo element to contain this, but I don't like working with pseudo elements when I got to use the content. When I got to add like numbers and stuff in there, I find it a lot easier to center and do everything when you have it inside of its own div. So up here, I'm just going to make, let's see. I just feel like using a div right now. Let's use a div. And then we're just going to put a span inside of 1. Why is it? Why did I do div? What do I want to call it? I want to call it subscript. And yeah, I guess we can. We don't want to add aria hidden because it's numbered. So 1, schedule an estimate, blah, blah, blah. 2, customize your project. So we actually don't. I don't think we want to add this as a pseudo element because we kind of want it to be part of the order. So I will add. I'll add that. I'll keep that in there as is. Span. I can just do subspan, so that's how I'll target that. And then what we want here, so we got these guys. So I would normally do these with, if I just had 2 of them, I'd do pseudo elements, but we have 3, so it's, wild card. So how I want to do this, do I want to create this in CSS? Or do I want to just because in Figma, you can actually export a group as whatever you want, so like an SVG, and we can add it as an SVG. However, I think it'd be really fun because this is kind of like the theme I went with, these little like bubbles. What I want to try and do that I think would be an extra touch of fancy is I want to have these guys, floating just a little, like bobbing up and down in different intervals, just floating very gently, just adding some subtle life to them. So I think if that's what I want to do, you got to plan it. If that's what you want to do, if you want to animate these things, then you got to do them individually. If you just wanted them as a group, you can just export them as an SVG and then just place it absolutely over here to the left and behind everybody. But I want to be fancy. I want bubbles that do bubble things. So we're going to create a div inside of this card because I want it to stay associated with this card. So it's got to be inside the card so that I can position it off of the card's edges. So it's got to be inside. It will be, let's do bubbles. So inside of bubbles, you're going to have, let's see, I can just make, I'm just going to make a big green guy. So we're going to have that green. Obviously, this adds no value. So aria hidden true. And because I'm doing it on the parent, everything inside of it will also be hidden. So we got our green. And let's just do, actually, I want these to be spans. And then span dot, span class. So I want to target them individually, so we'll just do Y1 for yellow 1, yellow 2, yellow 3. And then I want to have a class of yellow bubble, just so that I can, instead of having to write the CSS to make them yellow and make them opaque and make them circles, I can just write it once because I got a ton of these guys to do. So I'm going to do it here. I just got those bubbles. So what I'm going to do is I'm already thinking about how I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this, come here. Let's see, 184 by 180, or I don't like that. I want a square. So, hold on 1 second. All right, I think I'm back now. I had a call from the wife. Apparently, the little one, she's 1. She got a hold of her phone and called me. So I just chatted with the little girl for a little bit. So now back to this. So I want this to be 180 by 180, and then I'll make this green. I'll make this height width 100%. Now I can do position absolute, top left. Top 0, left 0, and then individually place these in the top left, bottom right, and then when I get over here, I'm just going to do a transform, and I'm gonna flip it horizontally, left and right, so we don't have to build these once and just copy and paste them. So I think that's it for that. So that's all that's going to be in that card. All right. So we copy and paste this 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I think we got that section down pretty good. Now this one is going to be a freaking pain in the ass to get right to scale responsively. So like as this page gets bigger, I think I want to have these guys stay in the middle. Obviously, this guy, I think it's just going to get longer. So I think instead of, because you can take the actual section, if it's a square like this, if it's a square, sometimes you can just skew the section like, I don't know, 45 degrees or whatever this is. And then the container inside that section, skew it negative 45 degrees so it straightens out. That's one way to do it, so that when this grows with it. But I don't want, I don't want this to get, taller as the screen gets wider. So I think what I want to do, because I want to keep everything contained here. So what we're gonna do is this green background, I'm gonna make it a pseudo element. I'm going to make it a pseudo element to the portfolio section. So it'll be attached to the portfolio section. It's going to be like, I don't know, 5,000 pixels wide, and it'll be however tall I need it to be. And then we skew it, I don't know, 20 degrees is what it says here. So skew it 20 degrees, and then we will position it in the center. And there's a few ways to position something in the center. I'll just go over the easiest way that I like to do things. But we'll position it in the center. So as the screen gets wider, like this stays as it is. Like it'll continue along this path off the screen. So as the screen gets bigger, it just exposes more of the pseudo element, keeping the shape the same so that the shape doesn't get any bigger with the screen size. That's what I'm concerned about if I did it with a section. But I like doing these sections before. If I have like this really long pseudo element, there you go. There it is. So if I had this really long pseudo element that extends all the way out over the viewport, as it grows, it just exposes more of that pseudo element. I kind of like that route of doing things. So, feel free to play, if you're wanting to try to do a section like this yourself, play with it and see what you come up with. But that's the easiest way I see of doing it. And then I'll show you a neat way to position something absolutely. So like we have it on the edge here, but I don't want it to stay on the edge when the screen grows. I want it to stay right here. And there's a couple of ways to do it. And I'll show you how. It's a neat little trick that I've learned at my job that saves me so much time and hassle. So we'll go over that. So let's just build this right now. So I got these guys that naturally have to be in a container because they're next to each other. And then we got this button. Something about how I want to do this. So I want this button to be attached. I want it to be here. But in mobile, when we're in mobile, you don't want to have, one image, next image, button, next image. So how do I want to place this button in the HTML to go from, how do I want to do this in mobile? Actually, I think I'm just going to have to, if I place this button outside the container, so if this is the container, if I place this here, it doesn't look too bad, but I kind of like it up there. So if I want to place it up here, I think the best bet, I think I couldn't, no, I don't want to transform it. I probably just absolutely position it, and then I will make it go to the left and position it from the bottom and place it right here. I think that's how I should do it. Because that way, if I place it outside of the container, on mobile, this button is at the end of everybody. And on desktop, if I feel like it, I can just leave it there. If I change my mind, I can undo all the CSS to move it over here. And it's not too much trouble to just move it up and position it right there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So inside this container, again, these are odd shapes. So, it's up to you if you want to add them as images, right? But again, because they're weird shapes, and it's just what I keep doing to myself on these more intricate or modern builds. You do something a little more complicated, and you just don't feel like changing the images every time. So, I know I deal with this a lot. They want to update the portfolio. Hey, I just did a new job. Can you put this on the home page? I don't want to have to recrop everything and save. Against some other people's advice, they would use images. I'm just going to use a div and set a background. So I'm just going to do image. Damn it. Image. There we go. And these. So I'm thinking about the image. This is the portfolio section. These images are part of the portfolio. So we want the screen reader, damn it. We want the screen reader to know what it is, I think. So because we don't have an image that we can add an alt tag to, we could add an ARIA label and have the screen reader read what this is. We could do ARIA label equals picture of this is a living room, a newly painted blue wall. So that's descriptive enough. So that's what I would do if I kept these divs. Other people might disagree on me. Well, you're an idiot. Why aren't you just using images, you lazy piece of shit? Why don't you just crop your images? Well, I could, but I don't think I want to do that. Because when we go to mobile, I want them. Maybe I want them to be different shapes. Like if I want them to be squares on mobile, because like these, if we go to mobile and we try to stack these guys, if we try to shrink them down and stack them, they'll be too tall. So we'd have to use different images, and we could do that with the image source set. But right now I'm just, I gotta crank this thing out. I don't think I need to get that complicated, because I would honestly, because then if I had to switch out these images. I'd have to switch out all of the other images for the different screen sizes. And that just creates more work for yourself down the road. So I think for the easiest maintenance and editing, because I do unlimited edits, I think it'll be a lot more streamlined if I add them as backgrounds, because then I just change one image. I don't have to resize any images, and it'll be perfectly as I want it. So I'm going to keep it as a div. Other people might disagree, but when you gotta make edits, it'll be easier when it's just divs. So we're gonna make these guys. So I'm just gonna leave this for now. We don't need to add all of these ARIA labels for all of them because that's not what you're here for. We're here for the nitty gritty. We're gonna code things. So a.button solid. That's gonna be our button. And we're going to view portfolio. So that's basically that. So now we got these fun things here. Let me just zoom in. So these guys, now we're going to make some graphics. What do you think about how I want to do these? I can't do pseudo elements because I have 2 up here and 2 down here. So that means I would need 2 elements to use both of their befores and afters. And I don't want to do that. And this is already going to be a pseudo element. So I think what I need to do, so this will be placed, this will be in the same position, same height. So if I make another div with a pseudo element, for this, it's a green div with a pseudo element that's exactly like it, that's yellow, and underneath it, one here, and then one up there on the right. So outside the container, let's just get that going. So let's do a line, and then line. Let's do top. So class line and a top, and then obviously ARIA hidden is true. So then I'm just going to put the next one at the bottom because that's where I want it to be. Change this to bottom. So I have line so that I can create them, and then instead of having to do it twice, I just do it once and then position them based on their top and bottom class. So that'll be easier. And now these guys, so what I want, because again, I want these guys to, let's see, if I'm going to have these guys move, if I have these guys move, will that be too complicated? Like, will that be too messy? So let's go in a little closer. And so if we have these guys bubbling and doing their bubble jiggles, do we want these to be doing the same thing? Is that too much? We got to think about user experience. Would it be too noisy, too distracting? And maybe the answer is yes. Maybe these would be too distracting. Let me just take a look. So, because I love them as they are here, it adds like another visual, like a visual cue, a visual piece of interest. Because if we just, let's just try, come here, give me that group. There it is. So if we just remove this, I guess this isn't grouped. But yeah, you can kind of see that when I had it just with these guys, it felt a little stale. I don't know, I didn't, the open space is good here, but I felt like I could have added something. And that's when I started playing with, there it is. That's when I started playing with these circles and positioning them in ways that were visually appealing. And in design, if you're trying to think about creating graphics or making a section more unique, you always got to think about balance. Is the design balanced? Like a lot of design is just having that nice balance of elements. So like we have balance here, And we have it on this side, and it comes on this side, and then this side. They're equally spaced, right? In the same position, just offset by the same amount. It's it's balanced. You go from here to here to here. And from here, if we just had one of them, it looks, it just looks awful. It's not balanced. It looks lopsided and too heavy on this side. So that's why I added these mirrored graphics like this, so I can have a nice balance from left to right. Because if you just had one, like one on one side, it's off, and visually it's going to stick out. That's why when I have up here, yes, it's by itself, but because it is not like in the visual hierarchy, it's not overpowering. Like, so these obviously are they're full color, they're bold, they're on top of it. This is behind everything. So if I made this opacity 100, come here, 100, come here, 100. There it is. See, now that breaks the visual hierarchy because it's too overpowering. It feels cluttered. So what we do when we do these watermarks is we lower the opacity to 5%, and it fills in the space. It adds a little more visual interest, but because we gave it a very low opacity and put it behind everything, we maintain the visual hierarchy of the other elements, and it just feels like it's more of a background image, and it feels fuller. And where we have it angling, pointing away to the left on this side, when we go down and do it again, we angle it and point it away to the right. There's our balance. We have one pointing to the left, and we have one on the right pointing to the right. So that's just kind of the yin and yang thing that I like to do in my design, especially here. We got this goes to here, and then we have this little divider, and then we flip it, and we create this neat little balance here. So, and don't be afraid to repeat yourself if you want to. It would have taken more time to redesign a second section as opposed to just doing another section and then flipping it. Sometimes that's what you do. You just make one section and then you flip it. That's very common in web design that I see nowadays. Why not? It saves work, it saves coding, it saves design, and it fills in space and adds more content. So yeah, let's do it. But when we go down here, I think if these guys are going to move, I don't know if I want these guys to move. So do we have any other bubbles? When you do, like, so in design, you don't want to just have one thing doing one thing. So these are bubbles, and they're all doing, if these are all moving, all of these are stationary, that's not good. I mean, you have to have some sort of rule. So I'm looking up, I see these bubbles. I think I want these to bubble too. And I want these to bubble. So I guess my rule would be any bubble can move that is yellow, right? So all yellow bubbles will be moving. So I think these green ones, I'm going to have stationary. I'll have them attached right here. And then I'm just going to have these yellow bubbles. I'm just going to have these, bobbing up and down. And I think that will, that would look a lot better. It would not be as jarring having all of these things moving. So we have these yellow bubbles moving, and then we have these yellow bubbles moving. And that kind of, that visual rule will be picked up subconsciously, and it'll feel right because only yellow bubbles float. So I think that's what we'll do. And we'll leave these alone because these are not yellow bubbles. So that's what we'll do. So yeah, I'm gonna have to, damn it, just create more work for myself, but I think it's gonna look better in the end. So we want to have a container that has all of these divs, and we just make them the sizes and place them absolutely. So here we go. Let's do the top one. Let's do portfolio port bubbles. And inside here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spans. Span dot bubble dot 1. So we got our bubble class, so I can make them all opaque and yellow at the same time. And then we're going to do 6, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then to place them individually, I will give them their own numbered class and place them individually. And this will be top. And this will be bottom, so that I can flip them and replace them. So I only have to do it once, and I just flip it and place it to the left instead of the right. I got that. I got my button. And I'm probably not even gonna have these on mobile. You probably won't even need these. We'll find out when we get there how much real estate we have. But now that we're almost at the end of it, and we're like closing in on almost an hour now, but that's how long it takes to do these. So we got our testimonials and our yellow thing. So let's go back. There we go. We got our span and H2 reviews. So all of these block level elements, no container needed. So that's what we're going to do. Save the divs. Everyone talks about saving the whales, but I'm saving divs. We're going to do these guys again, but it's going to be our testimonial. What is that? What does that say? What is that? What people say? Yeah, what people say. What was that up here? I think it was missing. Yeah, this one's missing. Okay, process. Okay, here we go. That's right. I never actually put this in here. So here, and that goes there. So I copied that from up here then. So we're missing our span here in experience. I'm just getting these right so that when we do go to CSS, we're seeing the same things. Knowledge is power, so that means that I screwed up here too? Yeah, I did. What do we want here? Let us complete, okay, renovations. And house painting contractors, our services. There we go, I just forgot to fill in all the spans. I'm human. So this is our markup so far. There we go. All right. So back to this. So we got these stars. Why waste an image? Like, I think what I would do, we're going to go to flat icon. I mean, if you aren't using this right now, get on it. Because this, I mean, it's the best money I spend every month. I get all my icons from here. So like, we need a star, and that's where I got all the icons on the home page too. So we just got our classic star. Oh, this one's got a little shadow. I think. No, we're not going to do a shadow because my design is about flat. We don't have shadows on our yellows, so no shadows on our stars. So we're just going to maintain that flat design with this star. Yeah, here we go. Let's download. Not a PNG. Oh, I think I got to open this up. There we go. SVG. Always download as an SVG. Right click, save as. Let's see. We're going to go into, where did I have it? Oh, that's right. This is where I'm going to put it in here. This is my beginning template. So save. Oh, I already got a star. Cool. No. Well, no. Yeah, let's overwrite that. Okay, so I already got a star in there. That's cool. It just has a bunch of random images in there. All right. So then we're going to add the stars. H2. So this is going to be the only thing that needs a container because they have to be grouped together. So we're going to do a div that's all stars, and I'm thinking if I don't want to do, I don't want to have like 5 image tags. Those are all going to be HTTP requests. So I think I'll show you. I'll show you what it looks like. So when we download this SVG, inspect right here, click on the SVG tag, go to copy element, and then in here, that's going to be our SVG. See, it's just messy. I don't like to throw SVGs in there a lot. Let me see if it'll let me minimize. No, it won't. So this is going to be 1, and then I'm going to do it again. So 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you see how quickly things get a little messy. But you know what? This is going to save a lot of time to load because you're not loading 5 images. Even though those images are SVGs, you're still loading via image tag. I use those upstairs over here anyway because my code is so minimal. I think in a website I'm making anywhere between like 40 and 50 HTTP requests in my final product that I can get away with it, but I'm not going to overload it. I'm not going to go nuts. So these stars, let's just minimize this div with all those stars that has our stars in it. Blah, 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 blah. There it is. So we're going to copy this. Oh yeah, damn back. Sorry, I had Amazon deliveries. Wasn't sure if somebody was coming over or not. So let's do this again. All right, copy. We're going to do our little p tag because this is clearly a paragraph. And then you're going to have H2. I guess we can make this a span because it's not exactly a header. So we're going to do span, do class in name. And we're going to put her name in here. And what I'm going to do for the circle is I'm just going to make it a pseudo element that's attached to the span. Nice and easy, instead of making a container and adding another span to make the circle and then center the circle. We're just going to use pseudo elements. So let's we're going to take these. Let's say we got 1 and 2. So we're just going to do this again. Yep. With the stars. Close this up because it is ugly. Okay, that looks good. And then we got our button solid. To read our testimonials. So, and that is it for that. Now we just got this little footer here. So how do I want to do it? So we got our footer in our designated footer tag. So I'm looking at this. I think we're going to kind of keep the same flow. It's going to be on mobile. It's just going to be centered. This will I'll probably stack this. Each one will be a display block. We'll just stack this, and then it's going to be at the bottom. So let's do, okay, so the footer, let's see. This will be a list. This will be its own span. This, however, I think this has to be grouped. So up top, I'm just going to make a border on top of my footer for this. So let's start with the main guys, and then we'll get to the bubblies over there. So we're going to have our image of our logo. And you know what? Let's make this an A tag because we want our image to go back to home. So we're going to now index.html, right? So then what we can do is, so this is a link, right? But this link has no text or context to tell the screen reader exactly what it does. It just has an image tag. So what we do is aria hidden on the image is true. We want them to skip it. And what we'll do here is we'll add an aria label on the A tag because we want to tell them what this does. So this is Turner Painting logo button to go back to home page. Nice and descriptive. Some people would just put back to home, but I like to be a little more descriptive in my aria labels. I want to tell them exactly what's happening here. And you know, rather than going aria label back to home page and then image Turner Painting logo, that might be a little confusing for the screen reader of the person trying to view the web page. They're going to be wondering, are these two separate things? So I like to combine them into one aria label. We're going to skip the image because it's not important. And we're just going to say, this is the Turner Painting logo button to go back to the home page. So it's the logo and it's a button. That's what we say. That's just for better accessibility. So then we're going to go here. So this, I feel like this has to be grouped because we got a little circle dude here. We got multiple information. I don't want to have, I mean, we could put all of this in one span tag, but I don't want the phone number and the address and the email in one span tag because, you know, I'd like to have it click to call, click to email, and maybe click on this to go to the location. I don't know, but I definitely want to make this a link and make this a link. So I have to make a group. So we're going to do this contact group. So we're going to make this a tag. And we're going to do this. All right. Let's see. What else do I want to do? I got this. I want another link. I'm thinking if I want to make this. I think I just want to make this a span. Let's see. And then, yeah, we're going to make this the email. And then mail to. And let's see, I think that's it for that. So then we're going to go down here. LI. And it's going to be a link. And it's going to go to the home page. Let's do this a couple times. Home. About the standard 5-page website. Services. Services again. And portfolio. And contact. I think that's good. So this, we can make its own span. Yes. I think so. Yeah. So we're going to do designed and developed. And then we're going to do a tag. Oak Harbor Web Designs. There it is. And then boop. Right there. That should do it. Dark mode. Oh, I love doing that. Okay. So now we got that done. Now we just got our bubbles. So do I want them? The question again, always when they're touching the edges, do we want them to keep touching the edges? Do we want them to stay on the edge of the screen, or do we want them to grow with the side of the screen? Like, do we want them to grow as the screen gets bigger? Do we want them to be bigger and kind of grow in proportion? So I think I'm just going to have them stay where they are. So let's just create, we can do one with the pseudo, and then we can do one with the pseudo before and after. So let's put these at the bottom. So we're going to have dot circle and dot circle one. Let's do circle one. All right, hidden true. So I'm just going to use the before element to create another element and attach it to it, and do that the same here so that they are all they're all grouped the same together. Wherever one moves, they all move. Instead of making another div and have spans inside of that div, wherever I can, if I can use pseudos, I will. And we're going to do circle. So that pretty much, yeah, that's about all of the markup. But let's go back to this home page here, because I think I went a little ahead of myself. So we got here, remove this button. Remove this. I want to make this a link. I used to use buttons, but I learned that recently you should start using links. Buttons are for like actions. Links take you to different pages. So if this button calculated your taxes, use a button tag, but we're going somewhere. So let's do schedule now. And let's say class equals button solid. So we got that. Yeah, let's add our circles here. I forgot about these guys. That's why you always review your work. Make sure you didn't miss anything. So we we already got the logo and navigation, so we don't have to worry about that. But let's just get these circles figured out right now. So we're going to do. Yeah, I think we make this okay. Big circle. It's gonna be big circle. Already hidden. True. So that's gonna be this guy. So I think it'd just be easier to place. So, and then I want to do this guy with a pseudo. So let's just copy this. Little circle. And then this, I'm going to make one little div with pseudos for the little guys. So this is going to be yellow circles. And we'll just do a before and after for these guys and place them right here. So that's going to cover those guys. We're just going to probably hide them on mobile. Just do a little cursory glance to make sure we missed anything. I think this is it. So yeah, that's how I would do the HTML for a website like this. Basically, planning for our mobile and desktop. So there you have it. I think the next video or group of videos will just be CSS. So yeah, I know we had a little staggered, a little ups and downs, kind of forgot a few things and some interruptions, but hopefully this was helpful to kind of see the thinking process, the whys, and kind of how I like to structure my websites and the reasoning behind them, and just looking at how, because I'm a working developer as well. I also work for a large company, and this is how I do my work. Nice structured sections. So we want to stay away from div soup, which is a div within div within div within div, and we don't want any meaningless divs or sections. So yeah, you see how much easier and cleaner everything is when you wrap everything in their own section. Get out of here. You go up and down your HTML. Like let's say you're working, this is already done, but we're doing some edits. Let's go to portfolio. Okay, let's work on portfolio. Here's the HTML. And we close that out. We can just scroll up really fast, and let's work on the services. Boom, right here. All right, drop that. Let's go work on something else. Hero. Let's work on the painting section. So this is just how I like to structure everything. But feel free to do it yourself, however you wish. However, this is from my experience and my learning, this is the most optimal and efficient way to structure your code, especially if we're going to be doing this mobile first, and kind of taking into consideration semantic HTML and website speed. So just make things nice and easy on yourself. But this is it, and hopefully you enjoyed that and enough to watch the next video. Thanks.